Hi, everybody.
Good morning. Happy Friday. We made it through another week.
It's Friday.
Welcome to another episode of Conscious Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsey.
Hi, my name is Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator. And we're happy to have you today.
And I'm Lindsey Kearns. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com, and I'm also a certified conscious trauma-informed life coach. Have you guys ever had that friend that is constantly making you feel bad or constantly making it all about them, putting you down all the time, talking to other people about you? Have you ever experienced that?
Yes, and it's called a toxic friendship. I know I have. I've had a friend who I'm almost sure had histrionic personality disorder. She had to. And she stole $42,000 of jewelry from me.
I know. After you allowed her to live with you for a while.
I put her up in my house.
You took her in.
Gave her money, treated her like a gem, did everything for her. And it really broke my heart.
We all have toxic friends at some point. Or if you're really lucky and you don't, God bless you, that's great. But
it's possible.
I've also experienced it, and I know a lot of people are. And the sad thing is that friends are really supposed to help make your life more meaningful. They're there to uplift you and make you feel good. They provide social and emotional support, and they ease the feelings of loneliness and all the crap we go through in life. It's nice to turn to a friend and know that we're not so alone.
Yes. It's always important to have friendships in your life. I always say this, girl friendships, guy friendships, even if you're in a relationship. So healthy friendships can help one maintain social connections, and they can even lengthen your lifespan and lower your risk of mental and physical ailments such as depression, anxiety, and actually high blood pressure, which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Friends are so important, and that's part of why we were created, right? As human
Social
beings, we do need each other. Science has proven that over and over again. We can't go it alone. There's the few rare people that are hermits they're called and isolate themselves. But as a whole, we need the energy. We need that touch. We need to be around each other. And that's why friendships are so important. Yet sadly, there are some seriously toxic friendships out there that really have negative effects.
Right. So toxic friendships can take different forms. But the toxic friend generally drains you so mentally, bringing you emotional pain instead of joy. And so you just leave feeling like, bleh, you know what I mean? Yeah. Completely enervated, no energy.
And it's hard for empaths and people pleasers and people that just want, peace and love. It's hard for them to recognize how toxic sometimes friendships can be because the toxic people are looking for us. They know that they're so charming and they seem so caring and kind that they can get in and quickly take control over ourselves.
Right.
So we wanted today to talk about some tips on recognizing and dealing with friends that cause more harm than happiness.
Yeah, and it's also important to note that we all have good and bad days, and sometimes even good friends are going to be kind of crappy to us.
Yeah.
But a good friend is going to apologize and recognize that they had a bad day, or they're going to respond well to you if you say, like, you yelled at me, you made me feel badly. They're going to say, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So tip number 1, Lindsey, can you tell me what that is?
Well, I can. We were talking about really how do you tell if your friend is just in a nasty mood or they really truly are toxic? And a good friend having a bad day, as Katie was saying, they might snap at you, but they'll be quick to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I'm having a bad day. This has nothing to do with you. Whereas a toxic friend will snap at you and make you feel like you've ruined their day. And they will show no regret or inclination to change. They don't care. They're feeling so awful inside. They need to make you feel awful.
Yep.
And that's what they'll do. They don't care.
Yeah. So as close friends, this is tip number 2, as close friends, we joke with each other. You know what I mean? But it's all in fun. Toxic friends are mean and divisive, and they're kind of like insidious, Or they can just say aggressive comments and you just feel horrible and you're like, but they're joking, or are they not joking?
Well, yeah, and that's how it really starts because, we can be joking. She would know because I love this dress. She would know if I'd be like, oh, that dress. I'm so, whatever. She knows I totally want the dress. We can laugh about that, right? Yes. A toxic person actually wants to make you feel bad, but they'll utilize that kind of joking element of a friendship, but they really mean it. And you can sense, like she can sense I'm being a dumb idiot when I say things like that, right? But you sense it not that way. You sense it as like, oh, I think they mean it. Like it feels wrong. And this is where trusting your instinct is so important. We just did a whole thing on painting the red flags green.
Right.
No more.
Yeah. I do think a lot of underlying issues for the toxic friend is that they're jealous, but whatever. We'll get into that later. Okay, so gossiping is tip number 3. Toxic friends may seem to enjoy spreading secrets about you.
And telling all of your problems to whoever will listen.
Yep. So someone who's consistently breaking your confidence that's a bad sign. It's just not a good friend, especially after you talk to them and say, listen, like you told my secret. A good friend will be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It just came out or whatever. A toxic friend will just maybe say, oh, I didn't, like deny it, or, oh, I did this for a reason.
Yeah, I think a good friend, and it does happen. Sometimes private things do slip out in other conversations. And I think a good friend would be quick to say, call the person, hey, look, I accidentally told this person, I'm sorry, I wasn't doing it behind your back. But a good friend would let you know that happened and be apologetic. The toxic person is going to call everybody they can and make sure you don't know about it and make sure those other people won't tell you about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
They're not sincere about their apologies at all. And they come in with I'm sorry, but, if you weren't so sensitive, we wouldn't have this problem. And do you see how they just flip that right back on you?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be upset. You shouldn't be this sensitive. It's fine for me to tell everything about you and make fun of you behind your back.
The term but is huge. It's an indicator of someone that is not taking responsibilities for their actions.
Correct. A major, major red flag. They make you feel nervous. They're totally unpredictable. One moment, they're like completely fine and happy and charming. You may say something with good intentions, but they don't take it that way. And then boom, they're screaming at you the next moment and crazy.
I definitely want a friend like that. Kidding. Okay, so they leave you unsettled. You might not even have a good explanation why, but when you leave them, you just feel like crap. You feel disappointed, and you definitely don't look forward to spending time with them, but you're not really sure why all the time.
Well, I think you have to get good. Well, I know you have to get good with being okay with never getting an apology. There will never be closure. There will never be apology. There will never be a final talk where they come clean and say, oh, I did all this to you and I'm so sorry, because they don't feel it.
And that is true. You can decide, I'm going to keep this toxic friend because I love this, and this about this person, and that outweighs it compared to the meanness. I mean, personally, I don't think that's the best idea, but whatever.
They compare you to other people all the time too, and this just rips your self-esteem down. These toxic friends. You're one of my good friends, but my best friend is just so much more fun than you.
Oh, thank you.
And you're like, whoa, wait a minute, but you're my best friend.
That makes me feel so great. Okay, so they put themselves front and center always. If you've ever had a fair weather friend, they'll drop in when things are going well and good. Let's say you just got an inheritance. All of a sudden they're there.
They'll be by your side.
Bora now.
Yep.
But when you're struggling, they bail. You can't reach them at all. I mean,
they don't call back. They don't want anything to do with it.
Friends like this. Yuck. Okay.
They try to change you instead of asking questions about you and actively listening to your problems. And this is something we really focus on in therapy and life coaching, that we try to make other people understand that you are whole and you are resourceful. You have the answers inside of you. Sometimes we all just need help drawing them out. Now, the toxic person isn't going to draw anything out of you. They're going to bury you who you are all the way down and put all their crap on top. So this is going to look like, hey, I have this problem. I'm doing something off at work, when you're trying to talk to them, and they're going to turn around and say, oh, you're so sensitive. You just need to do X, Y, and Z, and it will be all taken care of. And, you're so sensitive. They'll focus on you. So then your brain chemically is reacting, and you'll start not thinking straight
Mm-hmm.
and that it's your fault and
Mm-hmm.
it's a nightmare.
Yep. You'll probably feel lonely and isolated, as we've said
Yeah.
before, especially when you're around these toxic friends. You're with somebody, but yet you feel so lonely.
Well, there's so much confusion to it, don't
There
you
is.
find? Because
There
you're like,
is.
I'm a good person. I'm trying.
Mhm.
I'm being real to this person.
Mhm.
You know,
So
I read
why?
this great thing, actually. I just thought of it. And if I can get the quote right, I'm going to post it one of these days. But the thing with toxic relationships, right?
Mhm.
They lie to make you look bad.
Mhm. Yeah.
You lie to make them look good.
Right. Oh,
Think
that's
about
a very
that
good
for a
point.
minute. It's
Yeah,
fascinating,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and you might feel ignored or like they don't return your messages unless they need something from you. They
Mhm.
also don't seem to want to spend time with you. They don't seem interested in what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, I mean, you have to take into account there are some good friends and they're going through challenging times, and that's a different situation, like
Yeah.
divorce or
And it is a
cases.
major red flag if you are having issues and they're constantly making you feel bad about it. If they're constantly going over your boundaries. It's not good for you. Your stress levels are going to increase, which raises up your cortisol levels, which increases and attacks your adrenal glands. They'll
Mhm.
be kaplooey.
And this is a major problem because your
Mhm.
adrenal glands are like your brake pads. So when you
Mhm.
wear out your adrenal glands, it's like metal on metal in
Yep.
your car. So you feel every little bump in the road, every little slight feels like a tidal wave instead of just a little tiny, wave in the ocean. And so it makes everything more painful. And so back to toxic friends. They probably do things that upset you when you spend time together.
Oh, absolutely. But intentionally, just to get your back up
Mhm.
against the
Yeah,
wall.
and after you spend time with them, you might spend a lot of time afterwards going, wait, I feel
What
like
just
we had
happened?
negative interactions, like
Mhm.
which can make you feel tense and irritable and just downright awful about yourself.
Yeah, you do not feel supported at all. In fact, you're constantly questioning what's wrong with you, right? And if
Mhm.
you have a problem with this friend will disappear. Talk about
Yeah.
fair weather friends.
Right, or
Which
if you-
also, though, mentally makes you feel like there's really something wrong with me.
Mhm. Or if you just have a problem in general, they bail. So your self-confidence and your self-esteem take a major hit.
Yeah.
If this friend puts you down, which they probably do, you finally start to, or you can, should I say, finally start to believe their insults, which is not helpful in life because we get put
Yeah.
down enough in everyday life.
Yeah. You blame yourself for their behavior
Mhm.
oftentimes, and you feel terrible about yourself.
Yeah, like maybe I was annoying and that's why this person screamed at me. You often feel off balance.
Mhm.
Toxic friends often use manipulation to get their way. That's a big one. You might feel as if you never know the right thing to say or to do.
Oh,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? Like
Mhm.
you're walking on pins and needles because they might
Eggshells.
react. Is that what it is? Sorry.
Walking on eggshells.
I always say the wrong thing. They might take subtle digs at you or mock you openly, leaving you uncertain
Mhm.
whether they mean what they say. Are they joking? Like, what is really happening?
Your other relationships 100% are going to suffer.
Mhm.
They will. And I think there's also the other end of that spectrum as well, in that you get the toxic friend that just becomes like glue.
Mhm.
They destroy anybody else who wants to talk to you,
Mhm.
even if it's not a sexual thing.
No,
I'm
They
talking
want
just a friendship.
Just you.
They don't
Mhm.
want you to give attention to anybody else. So all of your relationships suffer,
Mhm.
which kind of internally you'll start thinking, God, I'm a crappy friend. Everybody's disappearing.
Mhm.
And you take that to yourself, not realizing the destruction this toxic person is doing to your life.
Right. So, what are some things that we can do if we have toxic friends? Well, for one, we can recognize, like I said before, okay, this person, yeah, they have issues, but I think that their good outweighs their bad. Yes, they have bad issues, but I'm willing to put up with, yes, they have good traits, but I'm willing to put up with the bad traits because their good traits to me outweigh their bad traits. Right. The other thing you can do is state your feelings and state them genuinely and see if they change.
Yeah.
And then the other option is just end the friendship, bail quickly.
You want to use positive communications. I statements are super important. You don't want to say you don't want to say you don't want to say people, you don't want to say us. You want to stick with I, my opinion, I feel, you affected me this way. right? You're going to set boundaries for the future. And if the relationship doesn't have any positive effects for you, your conversation with them hasn't helped any. Maybe it's time to do what we've talked about before and clear them out. And you guys, you have to understand, this took me years to understand because I am such a people pleaser and empathic, that it's okay to walk away from some relationships. Sometimes you have to clear some people out because they are not healthy. They're not helping you. They're holding you back. And that's okay.
Yeah, I have a problem with that too. I'm a caretaker, so I feel terrible and I feel like I've abandoned people and whatever else. Lindsey said something, and I just want to clarify. When you are making I statements, you don't want to say you, not meaning that in a bad way.
Yeah.
It sounds...
No, I didn't. I said, you want to stick with I, me, my opinion.
But then you said you. So this is what it looks like. I feel hurt when this occurs rather than I feel hurt when you do this, because then it becomes more like an attack, and then they're going to attack you back, especially if they're toxic. You know what I mean? So take the space to evaluate this friendship. Like, take time away, just like you do in a romantic relationship. Do you miss this person? Do you benefit from this person? Are they benefiting your life? Because they should be benefiting your life.
Yeah.
Do you think that this person can actually change?
Now, while you're doing this break, it's important to talk to other people around you. Right. Make new friends, join a new group, hit up a new gym, do something different where you're getting a perspective outside of your own on this, because that is super important, because our perspectives do change during the course of these relationships. So you really want to set these strict boundaries, as we mentioned before. Right? You know, I love you, but I'm hurt when you talk about my weight and my clothing. So could you kindly just not do that anymore? And if it doesn't stop, I cannot hang. I don't want to see you anymore. I don't want to do anything with you anymore. And I hope you can respect that. I wish you well, and just go on your own way.
Right. So if you decide to end this friendship, please do it in person in a public place, just in case they're like crazy, cray. You know, if you have to, you can do it over the phone. Please don't text. It's just not.
No, text, but sometimes an email is an okay thing, especially in this situation. If you've been hurt enough, you can write an email explaining, this is where I'm at. I don't feel safe talking to you about this anymore, nor do I want to. This
is very true, especially if you don't feel safe, like they're going to actually physically hurt you.
Yeah. And that's all okay.
Yeah. And so that's all good. So just what I always say is, I care about you, I love you, but we just can't be friends anymore because I just feel crappy when I'm with you. I'm sorry. And life is too short for that.
I don't even know that you need to say that, because that's going to trigger them. I think it's more along the lines of, hey, this isn't working out for me. I need to be, really direct with you that I'm being hurt a lot in this relationship. And for me, I think it's better that we just go our separate ways. And I don't want to hurt you either. And I wish you the best. Peace and love. And then boom, stick to that.
Yes. Be really direct with this ex-friend. Don't leave them with any ambiguity about the status of your friendship. Be strong, because they might make you, most likely, they're going to make you feel guilty, or they're going to make you feel like you're the crap friend. And think really carefully before getting back in touch. If you decide to cut off contact, trust your instincts, trust your gut, because as women and men, I feel like we ignore our gut so much, and avoid reaching out to them or responding to their attempts to contact you until you take this time.
Yeah.
In time, you might only think about the good things, just like we do in a romantic relationship. We look back and we only think about the good things and we forget the bad things. But remember, why did you end this friendship? What did this person do to you? Restarting it could just make you miserable again.
Yeah.
So it's best to let some time pass before you consider picking up this relationship again.
And the main thing when you're letting that time pass is talking to other people, because you do need to get a stronger perspective, even a therapist or psychologist or coach, whatever. You do need to get a better perspective before you get back into that relationship. Or sometimes it does take a little bit of help to fully let go.
Yeah, it
does. And that's okay.
Yeah, it does. I just want to point out, there are some people that can change. There are, certainly. And if your friend reaches out with an apology that seems really sincere to you, you might try rekindling this friendship. Just move really slowly, right? To protect yourself.
Because don't forget, the toxic person can be very charming and they will lie to you to draw you back in.
Very true. Very true. If you have mutual friends, please don't gossip to them. And I know we've said this before, but you can just say, we're not really friends anymore just because we're really different. So,
yep. And the bottom line is, you guys, when we're ending a toxic relationship, you got to be straightforward. You have to listen to your instincts. You cannot paint your red flags green. It's got to be according to you. Set your boundaries. Listen to yourself. Like you were saying, the I statements, focus on you, because otherwise the pain is never going to stop.
Yeah.
And if you need that extra support, find a therapist. We're here. We can direct you if you're in a different state. We can, help however. There's hotlines to call, right? For therapy.
There are. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For therapy.
To find therapists.
And the thing is, you are not alone. I would say
Right.
like 90% of us or more have had these toxic friendships. And we've learned as we've grown up developmentally, how to ascertain if these are toxic friendships, how to be a good friend ourselves.
For
But
sure.
I want to point out one thing, and that is if every friendship ends up dissolving, or if you can't maintain any friendships, at some point you need to look at your picker and say, maybe I'm not choosing the best friends, or you kind of have to look at yourself and say, am I being a good friend?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Look at your actions.
Exactly.
So, a lot of self-examination. So, all right, we're going to leave you guys with that today on Friday. We are off on Monday. We have a little summer holiday, but we'll be back on Wednesday.
Yes.
And we cannot wait to see you then. So I hope you have a great long weekend, everybody.
Right.
Bye.